Hello, welcome to my new video. It's called The History of Noahides. Noahism is the oldest monotheistic faith in the world. So it's not something new, it's not something invented. It is the oldest monotheistic faith in the world. And that's something to consider. Prior to the giving of the Torah, God had a plan for all of mankind, and he had that plan in place, and he certainly had expectations for all of mankind. I have previously done videos on the 7 Noahide laws, and you can reference those if you look back through my videos. And also please go to my website, My Noahide Family, where you will find the list of Noahide laws and the biblical references to them. So the first six laws were given to Adam in the Garden of Eden. And the seventh law, which we know as Ava Minahai, that's to not eat the flesh of a still living animal. That law, the seventh law, was given to Noah when he exited the ark after the flood. And hence the name given to, say, Noahide laws. That's where that expression came from. So there are Talmudic and Mishnaic references from the time of the Second Temple, and also first century Christian era, or Common Era as we call it. Josephus Flavius wrote about what he called God-fearers. He cited the existence of God-fearers in the world, and that's what they were referred to in those days. So that dates back to about the time of the Second Temple. Now, moving along to more modern times here for a bit more history, in 1976, there was an archaeological evidence discovered. It was actually uncovered in Turkey at a place called Aphrodisias. And there were two inscriptions found, two tablet inscriptions, and they dated approximately 210 Common Era. And they were discovered in an ancient synagogue in Aphrodisias in Turkey. And these two lists or two inscriptions, the first inscription contained the names of the Jewish founders of that actual synagogue. And the second tablet, the second list, contained a list of non-Jewish names who were referred to as God-fearers. Now, the names of those non-Jewish God-fearers, I have here, it was Zeno, Z-E-N-O, Athenagoras, Athenogoras, and Diogenes, Diogenes. So there was three God-fearers listed on that second inscription, or three that could be read anyway. So that is quite interesting, and I don't know that everyone sort of realises that information. Now, also, a similar inscription was uncovered in the ruins of another synagogue in Turkey at a place called Sardis. Now, this inscription actually listed three groups, and the inscription included Jews, converts, and observers of the Noahide laws. So, as you can see, this isn't something that was dreamed up in the last couple of 100 years. There has always been this existence. Unfortunately, at this point in time, the information is rather scarce. So, particularly in relation to the God-fearers or their practices, their actual identity then. And but we do know that there's probably been pockets of them in existence throughout history. However, they would be pockets that are more are probably never been recorded, or we haven't found that information yet. And I just cite my own example that my mother's family, they were God-fearers, and I have evidence from my aunt who can explain that, of her blessed memory. She is no longer with us. But, and even she said, look, she referred to it as God-fearers, referred to themselves as God-fearers. They did not subscribe to the Trinity theory. They did not subscribe to that at all. And, of course, my father is of Jewish descent, and certainly he didn't support the theory of the Trinity. So I'm just speaking from my experience. I believe that there would be other families and groups, small, and certainly probably wouldn't advertise it, that have maintained an existence throughout history, but unfortunately we'll probably never be able to actually prove that. That's my personal belief anyway. So Noahism remained dormant, but for a few individual God-fearers, there were still some individuals there, until the late 19th century and into the early 20th century. Now, this period of dormancy, as the word I use here, was likely due to the Christian church power and dominance, and certainly the widespread persecution and dispersion of the Jewish people. It's referred to as the diaspora. And so at that point, we must understand that it was almost dangerous for the Jews to practice their faith and their belief. So you can imagine that they would have suffered greatly if they had attempted to continue on with any education or teaching to the Gentiles. It certainly wouldn't have been something that they would have entered into for obvious reasons. So that is a brief explanation. It's not the complete explanation, but that gives you an idea why the term Noahide or God-fearers seem to go underground or just lay dormant. So moving along now into our more recent times, we do know of some notable people who have brought this, been instrumental in bringing Noahide identity and understanding back into the foreground. And may they be blessed for doing this. In other words, it sort of lifted the veil from it and brought it out into the modern era. And those, well, I can't mention all of them because there's too many to mention, but probably the most notable ones here, some of you will have heard about, and certainly one of them was Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, who is a tower of a scholar. That's all probably our most eminent scholar in the 20th century. And Vendel Jones, some of you would have read about Vendel Jones, or there are some of his videos still available on YouTube now. But Vendel Jones, of blessed memory, he passed away in 2010. So he really was the modern father, I guess, of bringing, shedding great light on it in terms of the non-Jews, spreading it to the non-Jews. And then, of course, we have Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, commonly termed the Rebbe of blessed memory. And he was very proactive in not only setting up kibbutz houses in places of the earth that no one had ever been before, but also, apart from taking care of the Jews, he also issued a challenge and a belief that the Gentiles should be taught and about the Noahide laws, and explain to them that it is a faith for all mankind. And so those three eminent people we can be very thankful for laying the groundwork for it to be brought out from under the rocks again. And as I said before, I believe there's always been pockets of God-fearers, as they were referred to, around, as an example with my family. And I would really be interested to hear from anyone, if you watch this video, if you've got any evidence of that too. I'm very keen to find out more about the history. And it is the oldest monotheistic faith in the world, and it's something as a Noahide we must be very, very proud of, very protective of, and very excited about. So everything all stems back to that. It began in the Garden of Eden and is still continuing. After Noah left the ark, that's when we had the seventh law given, and they became known as the 7 Noahide laws, or the 7 divine commandments. So I urge you all to educate people when they make rather glib statements. People from other faiths will say, oh, it's nothing, it's this, it's a made-up religion. Well, it isn't. It isn't. It was how shall I say, instilled in us in the Garden of Eden. So I don't think you can dispute that history. I also want to give full credit to Rabbi Avraham Blumenstiel for his teachings on the Noahide history and his immense research and writing that he has done. I have a copy of of his teachings here, and this is very, very extensive. He has quoted so many references and places where information has been, and it's a sheer joy to be able to look at this. And as I said, I give full credit to him for this information, and I'm very, very grateful. And Rabbi Blumenstiel has an excellent course on the Noahide Nations website, and if any of you are interested in finding out more, I suggest you go and take a look at that. Again, you can go to my website to find links to that information, as well as other information as well. So thank you again, Rabbi Blumenstiel. And just all of you, please remember, you belong to the oldest monotheistic faith in the world. So be proud. Be proud to be a Noahide. Please take care, and God bless.